equal 100. 31% of the dispatchable calls went to hate or assaults or threats, missing persons. 29. Okay.
Okay.
So they're all yes.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lancaster Criminal Justice meeting for Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. Call to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Brown, Carter,
Present.
Harris, Herr,
Here.
Rodriguez, here. Vice Chairman Little,
Present.
Chairman Vieira. We have a quorum.
Okay. Everyone want to stand for Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Please recite with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Presentations. Has anyone had a chance or any presentations? Okay. Public business from forum on agendized items. Citizens who would like to address the Criminal Justice Commission on any item, agendized item, can do so. Please fill out a speaker card. We're limited to 3 minutes. Consent calendar. Has anyone had a chance to review? Yep, good. Approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Minutes are approved for September 14, 2016, 4-0. We'll go right into the stats. Mr. Ruiz, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. Thank you. Hope you're all doing well.
Doing great.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a button. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like, I know we missed last month. I'm going to compare and show the stats for the month of October, but also do an increase or decrease comparison for the month of September, if that helps. The first slide I'm showing right now is the burglary suppression team. For the month of October, the activity they had. Now keep in mind also, I did want to emphasize, we had a, without going into too much detail, we had a rough month in October. Some of our directed patrol activities were decreased for the purposes of safety. A lot of deputies took time off in mourning for Sergeant Steve Owens' murder, as well as other activities that were just geared towards regular patrol vices directed patrol. So the numbers will be decreased from the previous months, and I just want to make that noted. The burglary suppression team for the month of October had 13 felony arrests, which was a decrease of five from the previous month of September when they had 18. Search warrants, they had 2, which is just only a slight decrease of 1 from the previous month, as well as firearms that were recovered. They didn't have any firearms recovered versus the previous month they'd had 1. Property that was recovered was $8,500. Which was a decrease of almost $2,400 from the previous months. Again, like I said, the cause for those decreases is the fact of lower activity. Also, the Lancaster team also had a significant decrease. The month of October is what I'm showing right now. Felony arrests, they had 9 for the month of October, which is significantly down by 34 from the previous month of September. Misdemeanor arrests, they had 3, which was consistent with the previous month. I'm sorry, I take that back, which was a decrease of 8 because they had 11 for the month of September. Firearms recovered was 1 versus what they had was 5 in the month of September. Vehicles that were stolen or that were recovered, stolen vehicles, was 6, and they actually had 3 the previous month, so it was an actual increase. A value of narcotics was only $1,100 versus the month of September was more close to $7,800. So September was a very busy month for them also. Move right along. Okay, narcotics. Our narco team is showing statistics for felony arrest of 2, which is the same what they had in the month of September. 84.81 grams of methamphetamine was recovered. And it's almost an 800 gram increase or decrease from the previous month. September they had over almost 900 grams of methamphetamine powder that was booked in evidence and they had made arrests from. Marijuana, they didn't have any marijuana arrest for the month of October, and also was the same in September, so there was no change there. They did conduct 2 search warrants, and they also did 2 search warrants in September also, so there was no change there. 0 firearms were recovered in October, and they also had, where are my numbers? Oh, they had 2 firearms, handguns that were recovered, and they actually were stolen handguns in September. That's all I have as far as the narcotics teams. I was not able to put in my thumb drive the activity from the LEAPS program, but I wanted to make sure that everyone at least had those numbers in front of you. Hopefully you get those. I can review those for you real quick. The month of November was, actually the month of October for November's report was actually a very significant increase from the previous month. You'll notice that we had 7 arrests, as well as 8 surveillance operations. Most of those surveillance operations are directed by our detectives to try and maybe look for someone's activity, some vehicle that might have been stolen, a common area where vehicles are hidden when they're stolen, different other issues like drug activity. So we do surveillance operations. We did 8 of those. I don't have the statistics of if there were any arrests behind those operations. I can always get those to you next month when I speak with those detectives. But most of the time, they're actually very productive. They did help with the arrest of 4 burglaries, 2 persons with guns, 1 stolen vehicle was recovered, as well as other suspicious activities, such as somebody who is a suspicious person that might be at a park or a public area near a school. We responded to those. The back sheet, which has the dispatch summary, shows a percentage of the total activity of what we've done. So of all of our activity with the LEAPS program when it was deployed, 31 of those went to either fights or assaults or robberies. They were dispatched to 29%, again, like those observations that I was telling you about, where we're trying to check criminal activity or do surveillance for any criminal activity. 11% for abandoned or auto thefts. Drunk drivers, we'll do a surveillance for those also. We dispatched 11% of those. Any sort of property crimes, we went to 15% of those. Those would be your burglaries, vandalisms, petty thefts, grand thefts. And then 28%, we responded to threats, disturbances, trespassing calls, what we call 415 families when there's a fight. Sometimes a fight goes outside. Or we'll just monitor the house just to check and see if there was an actual criminal assault that happened inside the house. If somebody leaves, we can also track the vehicle to ultimately detain that person and continue with our investigation. So unless there's any other questions, I have completed my review of statistics.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you. It feels good to be back. Appreciate it.
Any questions? No? Thanks, Mike. Really
Okay, have a good
appreciate it.
day.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. California Highway Patrol.
Yes, good morning. So our statistics that are current as of the end of last month, so far we've had 22 fatal accidents in CHP jurisdiction, which is relatively high compared to the 3-year average. If you combine 2013, 14, and 15, there's an average typically of 16 every year, so we're up by 37%, which is not good. The total number of traffic collisions so far that we've investigated is 1,350, and that's up 33% as well. There's been 120 DUI crashes, DUI-related crashes. That's up 16%. Our patrol hours are down just due to personnel injuries, just different factors have factored in. So our actual patrol hours are down quite a bit from previous years. So we're doing everything we can to boost those up. Our total arrests we've made, and that includes everything from a traffic ticket to physical arrest. So far this year, 11,467. But that's definitely down quite a bit from last year, where at this time we were at over 17,000. So we're trying to turn the tide around the best we can as far as trying to really attack that fatal picture. The fatal collisions, there haven't been, like I've said before, much rhyme or reason to why they're happening, where they're happening. They're kind of scattered throughout the area that we patrol. So there isn't a specific location that we can go to try to combat those. But we are focusing primarily on the primary collision factors that are involved, which is typically speeding, DUI, and then the lack of people wearing their seatbelts are the three primary factors that we've been focusing on, because those seem to come up just about every time when it comes to the serious and the fatal collisions that we've been responding to. Yes, sir.
Obviously, we're up 16% on DUIs, you said, or
Well, DUI crashes are up
Crashes.
16%. Yes, sir.
okay. When the California Highway Patrol writes a citation for DUI, do they write citations that would have open container? Let's say you pulled somebody over and they pulled them over and they're drinking and driving, is that citation states on that, or is there a breakout as far as driving under the influence or open container? Or is it just lumped into all one?
Well, typically, we can charge them with having the open container in the vehicle in addition to a DUI if they're also DUI, and it would be up to the DA's office if they want to, hold them accountable for each individual charge or just lump it in together.
So DUI, open container, would that automatically mean an arrest?
Well, if they were driving under the influence,
If they're
it'd be
driving
a
under the
physical
influence
arrest. Yes.
is one thing, and then open container is another.
Correct.
Okay.
And then an open container by itself, if they're not under the influence, would be a citation.
A citation, and then they were released to move on and drive away.
Right, without the alcohol. Correct.
All right. I have nothing else. Anything? Hi, Dr. Brown. No, not at all. Glad to have you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And all the work you do.
Thank you.
Incredible. Jocelyn. Oh, no, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm out of order. I'm sorry. I'm going with beauty before. Hey, Mr. Franklin, I apologize, sir.
Good morning. I've got the statistics through September of 2016. So just to give you an idea, again, this is for Antelope Valley, which includes Palmdale. But for the month of September, we filed 269 felonies. That's actually the most in the county. Perusing through the other branches, and that's a testament to the good work that the Sheriff's Department's doing. They're very aggressive and very good, and aggressive in a good way, not in a negative way. Year to date, we have filed 2,180 felonies. Now that will start going down with the legalization of marijuana having passed, and that's something that I've got to have my staff get a working group going now with my staff and see how that's going to affect. But a lot of the possession for sale, if it's under an ounce, is going to be a misdemeanor, so we'll have fewer felonies filed in the future, I think. As for misdemeanors, we filed 764 last month, or in September, I should say. And through September, that's a total of 5,712 misdemeanors. I do want to assure the council that the Antelope Valley branch is going to do all in its power to continue to keep this community safe, irrespective of the passage of Prop 57. Again, I'm going to put a small working group together and implement some procedures that I think may help offset some of the issues that are going to arise with Proposition 57. But rest assured, we're not going to back away from trying cases if they need to be tried. We don't get bullied by the defense or by the bench just to settle cases for the sake of moving the calendar. Unfortunately, I was just looking at a recent memorandum that came out. So essentially, other than when an enhancement converts a nonviolent felony into a violent felony, and as you all know, there's just a handful of violent felonies that are listed within the penal code, and then we have a boatload of serious felonies, which was played off, in my opinion, in misrepresentative fashion as nonviolent felonies, when really they are, but they're deemed serious felonies for the purposes of the legislature. But other than when an enhancement converts a nonviolent felony into a violent felony, allegations regarding a defendant's conduct or criminal history do not appear to be relevant to a determination of when an inmate whose current commitment offense is not a violent felony is eligible for parole consideration. Similarly, consecutive terms imposed for subordinate offenses do not appear to affect an inmate's eligibility for parole consideration. So it used to be the more crimes you had committed in the past is demonstrative of the fact that you're not able to abide by society's rules and regulations, and you've demonstrated that you can't play by the rules and be a good, productive citizen, so you're going to be doing more time. It's kind of like Marley's Ghost. You carry the chains you forge in life. And this appears to be that it's going to be doing away with that. So it'll give the parole board a tremendous amount of discretion. So I'm going to discuss with a couple of my staff members how we might be able to at least influence the parole board that this person who was convicted of arson, for instance, really is a bad person, and you need to think twice before letting them out early. So the other thing that I think is worth noting, Assemblyman Lackey had a law enforcement roundtable, and I do think he will be very conducive and instrumental in assisting us and maybe getting some of the cases that are considered nonviolent, such as arson or attempted robbery or residential burglary or rape of an unconscious person, maybe over into the violent category. Also, I'd mentioned to him at this roundtable, it would be nice to know, and I would think we'd be able to do it, and I know Mr. Dorico, he's not here, but he had indicated that he thought it was doable, is when they do start paroling these folks, it'd be nice to know how many are landing in our community here, and if they can make that kind of determination and let the Sheriff's Department know, I think that would be a benefit as well. With all that said, please rest assured we're over at the AV branch working to do again what we can to keep this community safe, and all my troops there know their duty, and they're not going to back down. So that's all I have.
So has anybody done any of the math, any of the estimates to see if we have the capacity for, as far as parole agents and parole officers are concerned, to handle the eventual influx?
That's a good question. I don't know if that was part of the governor's concern when he was creating this proposition. My gut reaction would be no. He was more interested in getting early parole than monitoring them. So, but to answer your question, I don't know. But it is a good question.
You know, with that, Mike, how many square miles do the Sheriff's Department cover up here in the Antelope Valley?
690 miles, right under 700.
So we're talking 690 square
About
miles.
600, 690 square miles when we talk about unincorporated areas as far east as Lake Los Angeles, 240th east, and then all the way out to just Neenach.
How
And
it's not going to affect us, and, no matter where they go with the coverage that the sheriff's departments, California Highway Patrol have to cover is crazy. I mean, it's insane. I mean, so to sit and say, how's it going to impact us? It's going to seriously impact us. The sheriff's department's working overtime on covering the areas that you cover now. CHP is covering the areas that they cover. It's just, Mr. Franklin's office is working and adding staff and this and that. It's very disappointing.
What's a typical caseload for a parole officer currently?
You know, I honestly don't know. It's changed because to do a parole violation, it's not how it was because of AB 109 and Prop 47. They only do, flash incarceration and for usually just, 2 to 3 months. And it used to be we'd violate them for a full year.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot more power earlier, and I think they have a substantial lessening of that power at this time. But I don't know the answer to what their caseload is. But like anyone, I guess we can all assume it's heavier than it should be.
Quite busy, I would suppose. Thank you.
And as far as the understanding, and what I understand too, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the legalization of marijuana initiative that was on the ballot does not take effect until January 1st of 2018. Is that correct?
No, I think it takes effect today.
Does it? Okay. For some reason, why did I read that?
Is it Jocelyn?
It takes effect right away, but at the state level, the expectation is that the state will have its regulations in place and ready to be implemented January 2018. Same with the medical marijuana laws that were effective at the beginning of this year. January 2018 has always been the target date. What's happening at the local level, I think different jurisdictions are making their own decision about that. But at the state level, that's the expectation.
Can drivers smoke and drive? No. Okay. All right.
Although you do raise an interesting point, and it's one that, again, I had mentioned at the law enforcement roundtable, is I assume it'll be the sheriff's department. It's going to need to do controlled studies with marijuana and impaired driving. And hopefully at some point there'll be legislation that'll say if you have a certain amount of nanograms of marijuana in your system, you're presumed under the influence. Just like we do right now with if you're 0.08 or higher, you're presumed to be under the influence of alcohol. And that's something we're definitely going to need. I know that Colorado has had a substantial increase in impaired driving because of their legalization of marijuana. And without the controlled studies, it's going to be very difficult to prosecute those marijuana cases.
I have a question for you on Prop 63. And in my opinion, it's the prop that's going to make criminals of law-abiding citizens. That's the ammunition background checks and things of that nature. My understanding is there's a provision within it that even if you go to another state, you buy ammunition, you come back, you are in violation of the intent of that prop. Is that correct?
I don't want to give you bad information, so I really need to, my focus on the propositions wasn't necessarily on that one. I voted that, just looked at it, and my own ideology was, this is crazy.
This is bad.
And so it didn't take me long to vote no on that one. But I didn't really read it that carefully to actually dissect it to say, is this going to be a criminal offense if you go to Nevada and buy ammo and bring it in? But I know it is going to, I think it's it's expense too, isn't it? Like $50 or something to try and just to buy ammo to get your background checks.
Yeah, I know there's an expense associated to the background check, and I think it's the same as with firearms. I think it's the $25 for the background check. Now, what I don't know is if that's each and every time you buy ammo, or if it's one time and then you're in some database, another database. The whole thing just makes no sense to me. I mean, the whole thing is just, it was a knee-jerk, in my opinion, it was a knee-jerk reaction to a bad situation that's just going to make it worse for law-abiding citizens.
I agree. I mean, there's no question that bad guys are going to get ammo and they're not going to go
Absolutely.
through a bad guy, a background check and all this stuff. You're just going to go get it on the street.
Mm-hmm. My understanding is what you're saying is that basically, if you go to Nevada, can't bring it to California. You buy it in California, you can't bring it to Nevada?
No,
you transport the ammunition? Is that what you're referring to?
My understanding is that if you are a California resident and you want to buy ammo, then the background check applies to you.
Correct.
So if you go out of state and buy ammo and then bring it in state, and that's what I'm
I see what
questioning.
you're saying.
Do you now violate the law because you didn't have a background check to buy ammo, but it's in the state?
I agree. I don't know why I didn't spend a lot of time on it either. Yeah. Wow.
Mr. Franklin, one question. What's the latitude of judges, particularly with the persuasive force of the district attorney's office, to increase the initial sentence to attempt to compensate for the early release problem?
I think that's going to be a tough road to hoe. We will certainly, that's one of the positions that we will be taking, certainly. But they will still be looking at their own sentencing guidelines from the rules of court, which will be factors in aggravation versus mitigation. Is it a first offense? Is it not a first offense? I do think a persuasive case can be made that to take that into consideration. But until we actually start making these suggestions to the court and the arguments to the court, it's going to be an unknown factor. They do have a lot of cases. We file a lot of cases, and we don't settle just for the purposes of moving cases along. So sometimes the court will take open pleas and get it moving, because it is a congested calendar. But that is one of the avenues that we're definitely going to take, which is, given the fact that they only have to do their base term, we think that, and given the prior history, that high term on the base term would be the acceptable recommendation for the sentence. Again, realizing the very pragmatic reality that they're going to get out early. So your basic residential burglary, it's 2, 4, 6 is the triad. You give them high term, that's 6. If they have a strike, that would be 12. The prior strike would be a 5-year prior. You get up to 17 years. Under this proposition, they're eligible for parole after doing the 6 years. So we would be pushing for the 6. The problem would be, let's say they give low term 2 years, then they're eligible for parole in 2 years, even though they're looking at potentially a 14-year maximum term. So we do want to get that high base term at the outset. You're absolutely correct. And that is going to be one of the recommendations that, among a few others, that we're going to make with my staff meeting, and what I'll be telling my troops there in the AV office.
I have one more question. Is Prop 57 from enactment forward, or is it retroactive like 47 was?
Do you know, Jocelyn? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I do need to look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Mr. Franklin, thank you, sir, as always, in your office and what you do, and the endless hours you guys put in is, and I can see the added hours that are going to just be added under these initiatives are being there. So I commend you and your staff. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jocelyn.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to one thing Mr. Franklin was referring to in terms of the impaired driving and the studies that are necessary, and that's absolutely true. But it's important to keep in mind that at this point, a breathalyzer type test is not, it will not work with marijuana. So right now, the only way you can even test whatever the threshold is going to be is by a blood test, and the only way you can get blood without consent is to go get a warrant. So that's a whole nother wrinkle that's going to come into play. I don't know how that's going to end up working. Mr. Franklin really covered the main things I was going to touch on, which is the passage of Prop 57 and the passage of the marijuana legalization. For future, my plan is at some point, probably not next month, but perhaps in January, I was going to just give you a little summary on how code enforcement works. I don't think we've ever really spent any time talking about what the city's code enforcement department or division does and the interplay of that with law enforcement and with the public safety department. There's a lot of moving parts there, and it's something that really impacts the quality of life for neighborhoods. So that's my plan for probably January, and that's all I have for today.
That's including any existing stuff that's out there now that's operating that we kind of know, don't know. What's
what we focus on mostly is residential property and the condition of residential property. Vice Chairman Little, I know that you saw a very, very bad hoarder house as a favor to me a couple of weeks ago. It's unspeakable. You have no idea how bad these residences can be and how much they impact detrimentally the surrounding residences. So we'll have a little 101 on that in January.
cool?
I actually look forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Jocelyn. Thank you so much. Public Safety Lee's not here, so, oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I apologize.
That's okay, Vice
You know.
Chair Little and Commissioners. I'm happy to announce that we've had a lot of interest in the Neighborhood Watch program in the Public Safety Department. As of a month ago, we were up to 245 groups. Last month, we added 3 new groups, so we're up to 248 groups. The Sheriff Department has been very active in assisting us with those meetings, and the public is very grateful for that. They're answering questions, they're assisting, giving lots of advice on how to stay safe, so that's been great. Our public safety specialists are focusing on neighborhood cleanup. We've removed a lot of junky cars from our residential streets, and we've had a lot of good feedback from residents as a result of that. Our parking enforcement staff has been helping out the elementary schools, especially with the traffic flow, making sure people aren't double and triple parking for safety reasons, and the schools are grateful, and parents are calling us. They're grateful for that as well. And that's all I've got.
If I may also add, the Sheriff's Department, we are collaborating with the Public Safety Office, as well as we have a lot of future events that we're doing aside, like we just did the Boulevard, and that was a very good event. We're getting ready for the holiday event on the Boulevard also. We're also, every week, we're collaborating with the city with preventative measures on social media, and as well as recently as yesterday, we started an advertisement for local radio crime prevention, reminding residents to the holiday season is coming, some safety tips on making sure that you don't leave packages in your vehicle, making sure that you don't put social media postings that you're going on vacation and everyone knows you're gone, so it gives the criminals that are monitoring you on social media an opportunity to possibly break in your house and burglarize it. Other key indicators when you're shopping online, and making sure packages don't go left unattended for a long period of time on your front porch. Those type of things that we're doing. Daylight savings time, we reminded people that drive slower because it's holiday. You know, Halloween was right around the corner. It was last week, and reminding parents to have reflective costumes for their children. So every week we are putting something out on social media, and since September 1st, we had 6,000 followers. Today, we're at 13,759 followers, so we have doubled just in nearly 60 days. So we have a lot of positive things that we're putting out there. I think we're getting very good feedback from the public out there on a lot of information that we're sharing with them, like when we do have holiday shopping coming up. I like to call it Thanksgiving, but apparently it's not Thanksgiving anymore. It's holiday Christmas shopping or whatever it is. All those activities, we're giving the general public hints on preventative crime measures, and we're going to continue to do that over the next, we have a 9-week schedule all the way through the rest of the year. And we're happy to do that with the city and just continue to do all that information.
As far as that, I had, like Jocelyn said, I had a chance to look at that house, and unbelievable. And I think I may have called Jocelyn and said, I don't even think I'm going to step foot on the property, and I do know that the existing neighbors from a half a block on this neighborhood drove by and talked to me about that. And I said, well, the city's in the process of cleaning this up and doing it, and how thankful they were, looking at what you guys have done. But yeah, that was incredible. And being in the business I've seen some bad stuff. And so I commend you. The neighborhood there in that area was so pleased, and great job.
So where would one go to find the information that you just talked about?
You can go to the Lancaster Sheriff's webpage. Facebook. You can like us on there, and we also tweet it out. And you can also become a Nixle recipient. Nixle is kind of that information is sent out there. You can go on your smartphone, dial 888-777, and then you enter your zip code of where you live, and you're automatically registered. And you will get alerts periodically with all that information.
Okay, thank you. And the same question for the Neighborhood Watch program. Where would one go?
They can call the Public Safety Office at 723-6063 or go on our city webpage and click on the Public Safety link.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Rick, you're good. You look good. You look good too. Long night, I know.
I think it's happy.
Yeah. Russ. Oh yeah.
By golly. Well, I don't want Jeff to scold me again.
Never.
Or Chairman Little, excuse me, Vice Chairman Little. Real quickly, about last night, by the way, someone wants to extend his happiness and thank you for everybody for the Antelope Valley getting a Senator-elect Wilk and Congressman Knight, who are with Senator Lackey, are all part of the Valley, are working together. So that's a great thing. We have that to go, for us. And as you know, the Settlement is very much into the safety of the Antelope Valley and the people and the residents here. Legislation right now is in recess, but there's a whole bunch of things coming up, and we'll talk about that as it goes on further than that. The Law Enforcement Roundtable that Mr. Franklin had mentioned brought forth lots of great information. And I think he's been in contact with you since then about some more information to help our valley. So they're working to bring a lot of that forward. You mentioned the marijuana issue, the legalization or whatever it is. Someone saw this a good year and a half ago or so, saw the possibility of this happening. And he was able to procure some funds from the state to do studies from the University of San Diego, which now they're doing it, to decide how to make that decision for the law enforcement to be able to, what method is best to see if someone is impaired driving or DWD, driving while drunk. Doing different methods and testing. At this point, it's either the swab method and such, different things that will be available to the law enforcement agencies to decide if somebody is impaired. It's tough because, as we know, marijuana sticks in the system for a very long time. But the window where you are impaired is relatively short, a shorter period of time. So to be able to decide that if it is that time that the person is impaired. So they're working on that right now. They do have, through the University of San Diego, is actually doing some research into that right now. Another thing that Assemblyman is working with right now is the retail organized crime, which to me sounds like something the mafia is involved in, but it is the retail organized crime is a very large issue across the country and in California, and he is right now working on trying to with groups to see the best way we can work on what Proposition 47 has knocked down. So piece by piece. So trying to take care of that. So that will be coming up as soon as legislation is back in session again. That's one of the things we have to look forward to in 2017. That's it.
That's it. Any questions for us?
No question. I do have a comment. Congratulations to everyone who won last night. It was hard fought and a long road, and I'm sure all of you are looking forward to a little downtime.
There's no downtime. But we're looking forward to continuing the work and keeping the Antelope Valley a safe place.
And it's much appreciated.
Thank you, Russ. This is the time where non-agenda items, you may fill out a speaker card. You have 3 minutes. I have a speaker card, Mr. David Paul.
Vice Chairman Little and Commissioners, good morning. It is such a pleasure to be here today. I'm sure a lot of you feel like I do today, like a stun grenade has gone off in our midst, and we'll get past that. Change is always hard. I felt like during 2007, 2008, during the financial crisis, normal changed, and we're on the precipice of another new normal, and we have to fight on. And I appreciate all of your efforts so greatly. There are many things that we don't even know how they're going to play out to come, but, I real happy Commissioner Carter and I walked together at Steve Owens' Candlelight Visual, and I was talking about hope, and I talked about how hope to me would mean the Cubs could win the World Series. So that kind of came true, and there is always hope. We have to keep fighting. The United States of America is the greatest country on earth, and we will get through this. My kids, this is what strikes me. I homeschool my children, and they're teenagers now, but they're starting to assume some moral responsibility for their own educational process. It used to be that I used to have to fight them to get to do their work and their homework and study and all this. And now they're internalizing the value of helping themselves be better and securing a better place for themselves in the world. And that's really all that helps people. And that's why we have to strive for unity as a city and as a people. And I will continue to work to bring people into this process. I would love more people in our community to come to this event and see all these dedicated people that donate so much of their time amidst hopeless situations to just keep doing the right thing. And that's the message I want to send today. Let's just all keep doing the right thing, keep hope alive, believe that if we work together, we'll get through all this, and love one another. And thank you so very much. I love the United States of America, my city, and all of you. You're great human beings, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Commissioner comments, anything? Good. Well, then we'll adjourn until Wednesday, December 14th, 2016 at 10 a.m.